My business partner and I bought an apartment building for only $212.23. And guys, I am not exaggerating. God sees me. I am not lying at all. And I'll even show you guys the HUD to explain that we bought it for this price. Now that we were able to do this, and it was our first apartment building, only putting that little amount down to purchase it, I want to show you guys how we did it from start to finish. I'm not going to put a lot of edits in here. I just want a full raw video for you guys so you guys can take notes and hopefully duplicate this and do it for yourself. So it all starts with marketing. And yes, we do have an employee that does marketing for us where we do cold calling and texting. Now, in this case, this lead came from a texting campaign that we use Launch Control. Now, with Launch Control, we just had a regular, text message campaign go out. And during this time, our employee was actually on vacation. So I saw the message come through, and the message basically said, after we sent our first initial message, the seller said, tired landlord price, $165, 5 units. That's literally what he said, word for word if I'm not mistaken. Tired landlord price, $165, 5 units. And anything above 4 units is considered a commercial building. In this case, I looked it up. This was a 5-unit apartment building. Now, I thought this guy was just playing around and wasn't serious, since we get a lot of people who aren't serious. So I asked him, I was like, how long have you owned it? And he said 18 years. I went on public records, I went on Propstream, I was checking, when he bought it, and it turns out it was the correct year amount. So I was like, all right, he may be somewhat serious. And this was, I think, a day later where our employee, she did text him back and schedule that appointment for me to go on. And I was a little skeptical just because you gotta be careful, especially being a woman in the business. You just never know, who's out there, or you just want to make sure you're safe about everything. So we scheduled the appointment, I went on it, and I actually brought my mom with me just because of how skeptical this thing was. Like, it just didn't make sense. A 5-unit for $165,000. It's roughly $33,000 a door. Like, that just seemed like super cheap. So I went on this appointment, and my mom was just sitting in the car, so she didn't come in. But I saw the guy come out the apartment building, met him, talked to him, and then he was like, you want to see it? I was like, yeah, let's go for it. And then we went through the 1 unit that was vacant, and that was the only unit that was vacant currently at that time. And I'm walking through the units, and I'm like, this really, like, it depends on the landlord who, if they want to rehab, and whatever they want to do to make a property look good, but really this could be move-in ready. Hardwood flooring, like the cabinets are old. The kitchen was a little bit older, it was a little bit dated, but really it could have been moved in ready. And he was showing me through that one. I was like, wow, this is, this looks pretty good. We were talking through it all, and then he started showing me through the other units. And as he's showing me through the other units, I'm like, wow, this guy's serious. Like, he really wants to sell this. And I'm meeting all the tenants, walking through all the apartments. They look pretty good, right? Now, there was this one apartment that had like roaches and stuff, and it was, pretty bad, a little disgusting, but overall the condition of the apartments looked really good. So literally what this guy was telling me from the initial jump of that text, he is a tired landlord. I think he's like 70, maybe 70, 75-ish, and he's just tired of self-managing, coming over, having to mow the lawn, having to pick up rent, having to do the repairs, so on and so forth. And he just wants to relax. So turns out, like I said, he's a tired landlord. And I talked everything over with him. I told him I'll be in touch. I have to discuss it with my partner Skylar, and then that ended it for that time. But then later on that day, I was telling Skylar about the deal. I showed him the pictures, because I did take pictures of the property as well so I can show him. And I went to boxing later that night, And before boxing, I remember I called up my mentor because I was like, is this really good? Because I don't know, you know, if something's good or not. Skylar doesn't know if something's good or not because we really haven't dealt with commercial. We don't know how to run our numbers at that point in time. And I called up my mentor, Dom, and he was like, if y'all don't lock this deal up right now, it was just that good. And it just started getting us more hype. So I was like, before I even went to boxing, I called him, he didn't pick up, and then he called me during boxing, but then I didn't pick up, and then I gave him a call after and then told him, like, this is where we would be at. And we did negotiate a little bit because we've been told, like, you don't want to give the seller their direct price because they may just think they're losing and they could have made more, so on and so forth. So we Dom actually gave us a really good idea. Since the price at 165 is 33 a door, I say, hey, would you be, I think I was like, we would be at 28 a door, which 28 times, what is it, 28,000 times 5 would be 140 instead of 165 purchase price, which when you say it that way, it just sounds better and it doesn't feel like a seller's losing as much. But the seller basically told me, he was like, you already know you're getting a deal. And at that point, I was like, all right, I think I was like, I'll have to, I don't know what I said, but we basically agreed over the phone for that price. And then I set another appointment to go meet with him so that we can do the agreement, so on and so forth, since I don't think he wanted it sent to him online. Some sellers are like older, they don't want like the online stuff, they just prefer doing it in person. So the next day, met with him and I went over the full agreement with him. Everything was good, and then he was like, oh, let's do this another time. And I knew, like, I had a feeling, I was like, if I don't get this signed today, this is not gonna get signed at all. So I was like, oh no, I mean, we're all good, I can take it to the title company, A, B, and C. Explained everything to him again, and then, you know, he was comfortable and he signed. And I think after that, like after I left and then he left and I told him I was getting it, you know, taking it over to the title company, putting our earnest money deposit down and everything, that was the most excitement I had from a deal. Like more excitement than a wholesale deal, my first wholesale deal, than I think my first fix and flip. Like, I think just because it was a 5-unit apartment building, and it's a commercial deal, it just changes the game. And then so after that, you know, went through the title company, had the title search, everything came back all good. We did do a sewer inspection, like a sewer line inspection. We want to make sure everything's good with the sewer, no leaks or anything like that. That came out to be good. The reason we did that, we don't typically do that, but another investor that we know, he was like, it's good to do this. So it probably was like $200 to $300, wasn't too much. So we got that done. It turned out it was really good. And then closing, we had that. And just so you guys know, we did put down, like I said, the earnest money deposit. And, well, I think that was $100. I gotta look it up. Let me look it up real quick because I want to make sure I am on point with that. Okay, so it wasn't $100. The earnest money deposit we put down was $500. Typically we do $100, but in this case we just put $500 down. So I guess you can add that into 500 plus the 212. But this is just what I'm showing from the HUD of what we had to bring the closing, which was $212.23. But yeah, so and you guys also may be wondering, okay, like how were you guys able to get it to that price specifically? Like how'd you guys even fund the deal? How'd you get the money for it? And funding actually came from networking. So I'm connected with a lot of investors out in my area, and I reached out to them. I'm like, hey, we got this deal, but looking for a good private money lender. They gave me, this one person gave me 2 people. Another person gave me someone, and they both had the same person. So I was like, let me call this person, see where they're at. and I called him. We had a good conversation over the phone. I even talked about my YouTube channel to, you know, help with my credibility, because at that time I had a couple deals, you know, going, but it wasn't like over 10 deals or so. So I was using my YouTube channel as credibility to show that, you know, we're serious about this and we're not playing around, right? Because at our age, a lot of people may think, oh, they're kids, you know, they don't know exactly what they're doing. But I confirmed and like was, you know, letting the lender know, like, we know what we're doing. And we had that conversation. They did pull our credit, so you do want to make sure you have good credit sometimes with when you're dealing with lenders. They pulled our credit, everything came back good, and I ran through the deal with him. And they typically, for this one particular, I asked them, do you do commercial? They don't typically do commercial, but they still wanted to look at it. And after I showed them the numbers and everything, they're like, yep, we're willing to do this. So that's how we were able to get the funding for this. Number one, networking. And they didn't just fund the purchase price, but they also funded the rehab costs. There's a lot of lenders out there that will only do one or the other, or they'll do like maybe 80% and then you have to bring 20% to the table. In our case, we just had to bring $212.23, which is a blessing from God above. This deal just surprises me in so many ways, because every time I think about it, every time I drive past our building, it's like 5 units for $165,000. Like, it's just, it's amazing. That best deal to date, that one right there. And the nice thing too, so we've done a lot of renovations to the units, which we didn't need to. Like I said, it was move-in ready. But the reason we did it is just so we can get a great appraisal value once we go to refinance. So we got it for $165. And if you guys are still watching this video this long, we are projected to, this property is projected to be appraised, valued at, I want to say minimum $550. Minimum $550. So if we're running numbers on what this could be once we do the BRRRR, so let's say it is $550. Typically you do 70% with your bank or 75%, it just all depends, but let's run it at a 70% loan to value. So at 70%, we're at $385, so that you can see that, $385. Now we have to pay back that lender. With that lender, we asked for a $65,000 rehab budget. Asked me how I got that rehab budget. I just asked another investor because I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, I don't know how much this is going to cost. And he's basically like a, you know, a mentor. And we broke down, I have a video of us breaking down this 5-unit deal. If you guys want to see that on my channel, I'll leave the link down in the description so you can see how they were helping me do it. But at $385, $65,000 rehab budget, but our total all in with our lender, what we have to pay back, I believe is around $245. So if I minus $245, we're at $140. Now we do not get to take home $140 tax free, because whenever you're doing refinances, you also have to pay closing costs. Now you don't have to worry about realtor fees, which is good, just the closing costs. So for a property this big, I was actually, Skylar and I were talking to the title company about this to see what our closing costs could potentially be, and we're probably around like $22,000. So if I minus $22,000 from this, this could be $118,000 tax-free money from one deal, and we just brought $212.23 to the table. Like, yeah, that just blows my mind. And that's if it appraises at $550. It could appraise over $600. And right now interest rates are going a little bit lower, which is a blessing. Even if they are where they're at right now, we ran our numbers where they're at right now. So wherever they go, we're still pretty secure. And we also are really big on Section 8. So utilizing the government, and with that it's nice because you have guaranteed rent, guaranteed payments coming in every month. So the main thing is we're just increasing that income and lowering our expenses to really up the value. And that's why after doing that deal, I just fell in love with commercial deals because with the value of commercial, you dictate that value. With residential, your comps, your comparables around the area is what dictate the value. And I like dictating my own value. So with that overall deal, that's how we did it from start to finish. And we're still in the process of everything. So we have one more unit to renovate, and then that's basically it. And gonna do some things to the basement. And I'm thinking around end of February, early March is when we'll refinance. So that's going to be really exciting. Definitely is a blessing. Super thankful and can't wait to do more deals like this and share it with you. And hopefully you guys do more deals like this, or, you know, get a deal like this and start your own journey. So I hope you guys enjoyed this long breakdown of how we got this 5-unit apartment building. And if you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Go subscribe if you're not subscribed. And if you guys want to see the full-on breakdown like I was talking about, how we broke down this deal, make sure you check out this video right here.